Queen Victoria and Prince Albert's family portrait encapsulates the imperial household that defined 19th century Europe. Queen Victoria and Prince Albert raised 9 children, 5 of whom were daughters who became queens and princesses across Europe. The family was a model of Victorian domesticity, and the princesses' lives reflected the era's blend of duty and personal longing. Each daughter's story, from the scholarly Princess Royal to the ever-loyal Princess Beatrice, illustrates how the Queen's own personality and the political currents of the time shaped Europe's royal houses. Through their marriages, causes, and private correspondence, Victoria's daughters left rich archives of letters and diaries that reveal intimate details of their characters and the hidden dramas behind palace life. Victoria, the Princess Royal, was Queen Victoria's firstborn and, as eldest daughter, briefly heir presumptive to the British throne. Educated under her father's guidance, she shared Albert's liberal views and was married at age 17 to Prince Frederick of Prussia, the heir to the German throne. In Berlin, she zealously advocated a constitutional monarchy modelled on Britain. Her liberal sympathies made her an outsider at the militaristic Prussian court, dominated by Otto von Bismarck. When Frederick finally became emperor in 1888, Victoria reigned as German empress for only 99 days before Frederick succumbed to cancer. Widowed as Empress Frederick, she withdrew to Germany and built Castle Friedrichshof in memory of her husband. By the turn of the century, she was living in near isolation, apart from the rising influence of her conservative son, Wilhelm II. Empress Victoria died of breast cancer in August 1901, just months after her mother's death. Princess Victoria's writings reveal her gentle yet determined character. She and Frederick had 8 children, but the marriage was difficult. Their eldest son, the future Kaiser Wilhelm II, suffered a lifelong arm injury from birth, an event that deeply haunted her. Despite these struggles, Victoria maintained a prodigious correspondence with her family. In fact, historians note that some 3,777 letters from Queen Victoria to the Princess Royal and about 4,000 from the Princess Royal to her mother have been preserved. These letters, a treasure trove of royal archives, detail everything from courtly events to motherly counsel. Through them we see Victoria as a devoted daughter and wife who navigated dynastic politics and court intrigue. For example, she confided in her mother about her political frustrations and the cultural adjustments of life in Germany. The very title of her later years, Empress Frederick, reflected how history remembered her devotion to Frederick's memory. In all, her life was marked by a blend of public duty and private vulnerability, liberal in spirit, affectionate in family bonds, and unwavering in her role as matriarch of a new German imperial line. Princess Alice of the United Kingdom was born in 1843 as Victoria and Albert's second daughter. Bright and compassionate, Alice grew up close to her parents. In 1862, just months after the Queen entered mourning for Prince Albert, Alice wed Prince Louis of Hesse-Darmstadt at Osborne House, a ceremony the Queen described as more of a funeral than a wedding, conducted in unrelieved gloom. Alice became Grand Duchess of Hesse, but life at the impoverished Darmstadt court was never happy. The burdens of war and illness weighed heavily on her. During the 1870–71 Austro-Prussian conflict, the heavily pregnant Alice organised hospitals and trained nurses in frontline camps, founding the Princess Alice Women's Guild to tend to wounded soldiers. Unlike the shy elder sisters, Alice eagerly embraced the nascent nursing movement, even discussing intimate medical details that made her prudish mother uncomfortable. Queen Victoria once advised Alice's sister Princess Louise to be very silent about Alice's interior matters. Alice's life was tragically cut short. In late 1878, a diphtheria epidemic struck the Hessian court. Alice spent a month nursing her own children through the illness. On 14th December 1878, exactly 17 years to the day after her father's death, Alice succumbed to diphtheria herself. Queen Victoria's journal entry for that day reveals a mother's agony. She called Alice a dear, talented, distinguished, tender-hearted, noble-minded, sweet child who had served her admirably, and expressed how incredible it was that such a loving daughter and wife was taken on the same day. Alice's devotion in grief and in life endeared her to all who knew her. The Grand Duchess left behind 5 children, including Princess Alex, later Tsarina Alexandra of Russia, and a reputation for gentle charity. She is remembered for her Christian compassion and openness, for example, befriending Florence Nightingale and correspondence in intellectual circles, traits that contrasted sharply with the strict formality of her mother's household. Princess Helena, born 25th May 1846, was the Queen's 3rd daughter and a lively, outgoing child known as Ländchen. She was educated privately and demonstrated early interests in art and science, though by Victorian norms she was a typical princess. In 1863, at age 17, she made headlines by falling in love with Albert's former librarian, Karl Rouland. When the Queen discovered their flirtation, she summarily dismissed Rouland. To end the match in 1866, Helena married Prince Christian of Schleswig-Holstein, under Victoria's strict condition that Christian renounce his German titles and reside in England, thus keeping Helena close to her mother. The marriage itself was quiet and reportedly loving, producing 6 children. After Princess Louise married in 1871, Helena, still unmarried, became her mother's unofficial secretary, shouldering daily tasks of writing letters and assisting with royal correspondence. In this role, she was a dutiful and constant companion to the widowed Queen for decades. Princess Helena was also active in Britain's emerging social reforms. An early and ardent supporter of nursing, she helped found the Ladies' Committee of the British Red Cross in 1870 and established nursing programs to care for wounded soldiers. She served as founding president of the Royal School of Needlework and of the Workhouse Infirmary Nursing Association, and later presided over the Royal British Nurses Association. Notably, she championed nurse registration even when Florence Nightingale cautioned against it. Through these efforts, Helena promoted professional training and greater respect for women nurses, causes far ahead of Victorian convention. Despite such achievements, she was overshadowed by family politics. After Queen Victoria's death in 1901, Helena quarrelled with the new Queen Alexandra, who insisted on replacing her as head of the Army Nursing Service. Throughout her life, Helena remained industrious and loyal. She wrote and translated works, collected folk songs, and devoted herself to charity. Although often quiet in public, Helena's independence sometimes showed. One biographer noted that she could be active, pushing, and rather self-willed. In 1916, Helena and Christian celebrated their 50th wedding anniversary, the first of Victoria's children to reach such a milestone, according to the Royal Collection Trust. Princess Helena died in 1923, having dedicated her life to both family duty and public service. Princess Louise Caroline Alberta, born 18 March 1848, was Queen Victoria's 6th child and one of her most unconventional daughters. A gifted artist from youth, Louise defied expectation by attending the National Art Training School and becoming one of the first royals to publicly practice art. She studied sculpture under Mary Thornycroft and Joseph Boehm, and famously created a life-size statue of Queen Victoria, her mother, for Kensington Gardens, as well as the Boer War Memorial in St. Paul's Cathedral. Louise was intellectually inquisitive and strong-willed. She pursued women's education causes, supporting the Girls' Public Day School Trust, and vigorously fundraising for children's hospitals. While living in Canada during her husband John Campbell's term as Governor-General, she also promoted women's rights and schools, channeling progressive Victorian ideals she had absorbed from her parents. Yet, beneath this public persona, Louise's personal life was fraught with scandal and mystery. For decades, she was the subject of sensational rumours. Biographers have reported whispers of an illegitimate son born in the 1860s, a boy named Henry Locock, whose descendants claimed Louise was their grandmother. Others alleged romantic liaisons ranging from her husband's rumoured homosexuality to affairs with her sculptor tutor, Joseph Boehm, and even a Kanaka Fijian artist model. Whether these stories are true is unknown. The official record is frustratingly thin. Indeed, modern writers note that access to Louise's personal archives is restricted, as if history itself has built fortresses of brick walls around her life. What is certain is that Louise chafed under her mother's strictures. In secret, she corresponded with leading feminists. She wrote letters of support to reformers Josephine Butler and Elizabeth Garrett Anderson, even though Queen Victoria forbade it. Louise was known for her liberal, sometimes radical, outspokenness. As one recent biographer puts it, Louise was radical in her politics, openly speaking out against her mother in public at times. Taken together, Princess Louise's life was a tapestry of contradictions. She was a dutiful daughter and royal duchess, yet privately a bohemian artist and social crusader. Her legacy is still being unravelled by historians, but what emerges is a portrait of a fiercely independent woman who loved art and reform as much as she loved her family. Through her creations and causes, Louise made a subtle but lasting mark on cultural life and the early women's movement, and in doing so kept alive a spirit of Englishness and progressiveness that Queen Victoria herself had cherished. Princess Beatrice Mary Victoria Theodore, born 14th April 1857, was Queen Victoria's youngest child and the last of her 9 offspring. Known affectionately as Baby within the royal household, Beatrice became her father's cherished daughter in his last years. Prince Albert reportedly wrote that she was the most amusing baby we have had, and the infant quickly became the Queen's constant companion after Albert's death. Even as a little girl, Beatrice swore she would never marry. At age 6, she declared, "I shall stay with my mother," and that she doesn't like weddings at all. Victoria eagerly agreed, promising never to be without her. This bond defined much of Beatrice's life. As Beatrice grew up, she assumed a role of service. When her sister Princess Louise married in 1871, Beatrice, still only a teenager, became Queen Victoria's unofficial secretary. She helped with correspondence, sorted music, and literally kept her mother company through grief. After the death of Queen Victoria's beloved servant John Brown in 1883, the Queen once again turned to Beatrice for comfort, just as she had after Albert's death. Despite the Queen's encouragement, Beatrice received numerous suitors over the years. Rumours even circulated in the 1870s of an engagement to the exiled French Prince Imperial, but that match died with his death in 1879. Another idea was marriage to her late sister Alice's widowed husband, the Grand Duke of Hesse, but that was blocked by Parliament. The love that changed her life came unexpectedly. At the 1884 wedding of Princess Victoria of Hesse, Beatrice's niece, to Grand Duke Ernst Louis, Beatrice met Prince Henry of Battenberg. The two fell deeply in love. When Beatrice informed her mother of her wish to marry, Victoria was at first mute. The Queen required Henry to give up his German career and live in England if he would wed her daughter. Eventually the Queen relented, and Beatrice and Henry married on the 23rd of July, 1885, at Osborne House. It was a small, family-centred ceremony, and notably Beatrice became the only one of her sisters allowed to wear the white veil Victoria had worn at her own wedding. Princess Beatrice and her new husband Henry were devoted to Victoria. They spent most of their time in England, so the Queen always had them close. In 1886, Beatrice suffered a miscarriage, but soon gave birth to a son, and then 3 more children, 2 sons and a daughter, over the next few years. The marriage was happy, though tragedy struck in 1896 during the Anglo-Asante War. Prince Henry contracted malaria while serving as a military official and died on the 20th of January 1896 aboard HMS Blonde near Sierra Leone. Devastated, Beatrice was inconsolable. Queen Victoria wrote that her daughter was so piteous in her misery when she came to comfort her. In the wake of Henry's death, the Queen granted Beatrice her late husband's governorship of the Isle of Wight, and even had a photographic darkroom installed at Osborne House, so Beatrice could pursue her hobby of photography. For a time, Beatrice withdrew from public court life, mourning privately at Queen Victoria's side. After Victoria's death in 1901, Beatrice wrote of her grief. "I, who had hardly ever been separated from my dear mother, can hardly realise what life will be like without her." She never fully adjusted to the reign of her brother Edward VII. Instead, Beatrice devoted the next decades to preserving her mother's legacy. As Queen Victoria's literary executor, she edited and oversaw the publication of hundreds of volumes of the Queen's journals and letters, fulfilling Victoria's wish that the inner feelings of her reign be recorded. In later life, Beatrice endured more losses. 2 of her 4 children died, Prince Maurice in World War I and Prince Leopold in 1922. But she lived on as a respected dowager princess. She remained active in royal charities, often laying wreaths on national anniversaries, until arthritis confined her to a wheelchair. In 1917, she lost her Battenberg title, becoming simply Her Royal Highness Princess Beatrice, along with the rest of the family's German honours. Princess Beatrice died in 1944 at age 87, the longest-lived of Victoria's children, and was buried beside her husband Henry on the Isle of Wight. Her life of dutiful loyalty and diligent work behind the scenes stands as a testament to the quiet sacrifices of a daughter who never sought the spotlight. Queen Victoria's 5 daughters each lived rich, complicated lives far beyond the sheltered nursery. As one historian observed, Victoria's daughters were more than mere appendages of royalty. Their preserved correspondence and the scandals they encountered continue to fascinate scholars and the public alike. In examining their stories closely, we gain a fuller, more nuanced portrait of a queen's family, and a clearer understanding of how power and personality intertwined in a bygone dynasty. Comment down below if you'd like to know more about other historical figures.